I never do this. Anybody have a favorite song you want to sing? Yeah, they're coming. Sing something we know. Alrighty, we can start now. Take your songbook, turn to page 31. He hideth my soul. Everybody knows this. Page 31. And once you find the page, go ahead and stand. We'll sing together. Well, if you ate as much as I did today, then it's easier to breathe when you're standing up. Okay? I had to finish the last piece of, well, the last 2 or 3 pieces of dessert I had to eat standing up because I had so much other stuff in the way. Okay, here we go. Page 31, here we go. A wonderful Savior is Jesus my Lord, a wonderful Savior to me. He hideth my soul in the cleft of the rock, where rivers of pleasure I see. He hideth my soul in the cleft of the rock, that shadows a dry, thirsty land. He hideth my life in the depths of his love, and covers me there with his hand, and covers me there with his hand. A wonderful Savior is Jesus my Lord, he taketh my burden away. He holdeth me up, and I shall not be moved. He giveth me strength as my day. He hideth my soul in the cleft of the rock, that shadows a dry, thirsty land. He hideth my life in the depths of his love, and covers me there with his hand, and covers me there with his hand. Last verse. When clothed in his brightness, transported I rise, to meet him in clouds of the sky. His perfect salvation, his wonderful love, I'll shout with the millions on high. He hideth my soul in the cleft of the rock, that shadows a dry, thirsty land. He hideth my life in the depths, and covers me there with his hand, and covers me there with his hand. Okay, you have a seat. Let's go to prayers. Anybody have a spoken prayer request? Sir? Okay, pray for Josiah. Tell him to stay home with him tonight. Not the excuse, like the excuses song from 1980s, where it's excuses. We need them every day. Reason to stay home from church. If a kid has a really nose, everyone stays home. And they say, we don't do that. Okay? Anybody else with a request? Amanda's funeral is tomorrow at 1 o'clock. So y'all pray for. I don't know if they have lost friends and family that will be there. Just pray. We'll try to get the gospel out to those that are lost, and be an encouragement to those that are saved. And just pray for that family. Pray for comfort. We saw Marcia and Tracy today, and Missy and Jimmy and the boys, and they're doing well. Just continue to pray for them. And Sir Charlie Boy, you have a prayer request? What's your request? Okay, very good. Thank you, sir. Anybody else? All right. Jared, you lead us in prayer? something we've done before for Homecoming Sunday, and we don't do this often, but does anybody have testimony, something you're really thankful for? And Jared mentioned being thankful in his prayer, but something you want to give God thanks for. I know, to me, I sat here this morning listening to the songs, and I know I said this when I walked up here, but I couldn't help but just rejoicing in the people that we know, and the blessings that people have been, and the blessings that people have been to others. I've never had a need in my life that our church family or church families, going back before we started this church, our church families have not met those needs. I've never felt forsaken by everybody. There's always been somebody that has stepped up, and for a long time for Tammy and I, it seemed like it was Preacher and Becky. We were kids. Looking back at it, we were teenagers when they came to church with us, and when Tammy and I got saved when we were 17, and we were 19 when Preacher and Becky came to our church, and it was almost like they were always there to help us, and so I rejoiced in seeing Becky and Hardin this morning. I was glad to see Hardin in church. I guess it's been a year since he's been in church. We've been to their house to see him, and he's on the oxygen, and you think, wow, it was just a joy for me to have him here this morning, and some of the family with him. So there's always been people. There's always been church people. There's always been church family that have met needs in our family, and not just in our personal family, our immediate family, but seeing the needs of others met. I can't go into details about this publicly, but every time in the last 26 years, whenever we said there's a need, our church has always come through and filled that need. When I go back to what PR said about 2.5 years, 3 years ago in Sunday school class, he said, "What are we good at?" And people wrote down the things that they're good at, and it's cooking. Baptist, the sign of our religion is a casserole dish, right? But we're good at cooking and cleaning and helping people, and that's what we want to serve people, and that's how we end up working at the ball field thing, which I think is a tremendous ministry that we have. We never had a need. When I look through the church family, I don't know if there's ever been a need that we couldn't meet or didn't step up, not twist your arm up behind your back and force people to do stuff, or twist your arm to get you to do stuff. It's just saying, here's a need, what can we do? And today this week there was a need, and the church came through over and abundantly above what anyone could have asked for, and I'm tickled to death with meeting the needs. And what we've done, and you think, well, Brother John, it's just a handful of people. A handful of the greatest people in the world sit in this room on Sunday morning, I think. I know there's great churches up and down the road. There's great churches all across America, around the world. But some of the greatest people in the world sit right in this room every Sunday morning. I'm tickled, and it's sitting here tonight too, and Wednesday night, and serving and different things, always here, doing what they're supposed to do. I'm tickled. I'm honored to be the pastor of such great people. And you think, well, they're just normal people. They're normal people. They're above average people filled with the Spirit of God, and it makes a big difference in who you are. Okay. Okay. Anybody got a testimony besides me? I'm witnessing. This is my testimony, I guess, for what I'm doing. Anybody else have a testimony? Something you want to give God's praise for, thanks for what we're doing for you? We're going to the book of Judges. And we're glad you're getting up, Miss Joe. And they were working on the power lines or something in our holler this morning when Tam and I left to go pick up Jessica. And we thought, Miss Joe's going to have to walk all the way down to Jill's house. That's a long ways. That's like a couple hundred yards to get her to climb up in our truck. She got to walk all the way down past some power line trucks, but they were out of the way before the time we got back. Anybody else? Testimony? That's joy. Very good. Anybody else? Yeah, Chris and his family. Yeah. They're a handful, that's right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. Good way. But, okay. Charlie, boy, you had your hand up. You have testimony. You had your hand up a minute ago. I didn't know if you were going to say something. Thankful for Miss Patty. Very good. Anybody else? Turn to Judges chapter 8. I'll read just a few verses. I wanted to ask the question about testimonies. I wanted to ask the question about testimonies. I wanted to ask about being thankful specifically because I knew where I was going with the message tonight. Judges chapter 8. I'm going to ask you, while you're looking for it, I'm going to ask you, what judge have we talked about for the last 3 weeks on Sunday nights? Gideon? Who said that? Very good. Okay, Gideon. Okay? And he defeated the Midianites. And he defeated the Midianites with a very small army. Just God wanted to do it that way to prove that God was in charge and that God won their victory. Okay? I was going to read a few verses, and I want to. I'm going to skip. I was going like half the message. There's 2 parts to this message, and I think I just want to get to the first one part tonight, just because it's just to concentrate on one thing for just a few minutes. Look at the Judges chapter 8, verse 28. Thus was Midian subdued before the children of Israel, so they lift up their heads no more, and the country was in quietness 40 years in the days of Gideon. That means for 40 years he ran the country, and they didn't have anybody invade them anymore. And Zerubbabel, the son of Joash, went and dwelt with in his own house. That is Gideon's, one of his sons. Okay. And verse 30. And Gideon had 60. Excuse me. Jerubbaal is actually Gideon. And Gideon had 70 sons of his body begotten, for he had many wives. This man had 70 sons, besides daughters. And his concubine that was in Shechem, she also bare him a son. His name was Abimelech. And Gideon, the son of Joash, died in a good old age, and was buried in the sepulchre of Joash's father in Ophrah of the Abezrites. And it came to pass, this is the part I want to get to, and it came to pass, as soon as Gideon was dead, that the children of Israel turned again, and went a-whoring after Balaam, and made Baal-berith their god. And the children of Israel remembered not the Lord their God, who had delivered them out of the hands of all their enemies on every side. Neither showed they kindness to the house of Jerubbaal, namely Gideon, according to all the goodness which he had showed unto Israel. Stop reading right there. We know the battle that Gideon went through, and he was victorious. And we know that he was a very humble man. He was threshing wheat behind a wine press, and he was hiding food to save for his family. And we look at it, and the angel of God appeared to him and said, "Hail, thou mighty man of valor." And he said, "Who am I? I am nobody. I'm the smallest man, smallest tribe. There's nothing to me." And God said, "You're the man I've chosen. You're a humble man. You're a good man. You're faithful." And Gideon was faithful and fought this battle and was a faithful judge of God. For 40 years, he served God faithfully as a judge of Israel. But as soon as he dies, everyone forgot who he was. If you mention the next generation come around, they said, "Gideon who?" Right? It's almost like, okay, people just don't know what. I know Charlie's a history teacher, so he knows more about history than I do. But I know that one time we were back here in class in junior church just a couple of years ago, and it was Martin Luther King Day. The kids were going to be off the next day on a Monday because off for Martin Luther King Day. And I said, "Does anybody know what Martin Luther King did?" And one of the kids said, "He freed the slaves." And I said, "Who told you that?" "My teacher at school." "Oh, okay." And since the kid said that, my first question is, you know who Abraham Lincoln is? He's on the penny. Okay? And that's about it. Okay? Gideon, who led the country for 40 years, nobody, as soon as he died, they forgot who he was. The man who led them in victory, who kept the Midianites from ever coming back into the country, if God did, but we used Gideon to do it. The Midianites never invaded their land again. As soon as he is dead, they forget who he is. As soon as he's dead, well, got rid of that guy. He was a tyrant. He wasn't a tyrant. Okay? Oftentimes, Christians do this as well as lost people do. Immediately forget what is done for them. That's why I ask for the testimonies. I want to hear names. I want to hear stories, or I want to get you to think about who has done for you in the last 26 years. What people have done for you. And Rebecca did this with her talking about the teachers that were not in the pictures because they were the ones taking the pictures. But the people who taught, the people who served. Marlon mentioned Becky being here this morning, Hardin being here this morning, and Randy, and looking back at the pictures back here, the different people of all the pictures that were on the wall this morning back here, of all the different teachers and all the people that served and influenced kids and influenced the adults, the adult teachers and the children's teachers, those who sang the choir, those who sang solos. Just to think about the people, everybody that's made an investment in your life. I think my mind goes back to, I grew up in Sunday school. I remember my mom being a Sunday school teacher at our church. I remember different Sunday school teachers that I had, great teachers, even though I was lost. And nobody, even when I asked one of my teachers when I was a senior in high school, I said, "I want to know for sure I'm going to heaven." He couldn't tell me how I could know for sure I was going to heaven. He just didn't know how to tell me how to get saved. Okay? Maybe he was, but just didn't know how to tell me that. But then when we did get saved, and it came to Baptist Church, my mind goes often to a guy named Larry, who was a teen boys Sunday school teacher. He was a welder. He was a funny guy. Just lots of fun. He hadn't been saved very long, but he was very outspoken and very loud, and about as big as wide as this pulpit up here. And he's a great guy. But he made Sunday school fun for the teen boys in that class. I think about Lloyd Humphreys, who was our pastor, who was preaching the night that I got saved. Tammy and I were sitting over on this side, and I came down the aisle, and I remember the guy who came back and spoke to me on Sunday night service and said, Johnny, why not tonight? Why don't you come get saved tonight? And I did, okay? My mind goes to these people that influenced my life, or to Lloyd Humphreys, our pastor, or to Brother Howes, who was our pastor in Indiana, or Preacher Dave and Becky, who influenced us in a tremendous way as seemed like we were just kids at the time. My mind goes back often to these people, and I think about these people, and I want to do something, not forget what they've done. Something inside of me never wants to forget what our church family has done for me, or our church family ever since the time we got saved, 1980, up to this day. Everything everyone's done for me or given me, or just showed up when I needed somebody. But it's not just church family. I think about our family, our family heritage, our family. Every day I get to live on Jenkins Drive. There's a reason we live on Jenkins Drive, right? The family's been there since 1842. I think about I've never met my grandfather, but I think about my grandmother often. I think about my mom and dad often, and my family that has lived there for 100, however many years, nearly 180 years, 170 years, 175 years the family's lived there. And I think about the investment that people have made in my life, okay? A lot of times we forget real quick. Gideon's people forgot. Israel forgot who Gideon was right away. The day that I know a young man who was called to preach, went to Howes Anderson College. The day his pastor resigned from his church, he made comments about his pastor. There's a young man that got saved at a church, like our church. He got saved at the altar of the church. He got baptized at that church. His family was all saved at that church. And the day that his pastor resigned, it's almost like he forgot everything that his pastor ever taught him. And he made comments about his pastor. Well, he wasn't really a fundamental independent Baptist. He was. The pastor was everything he was supposed to be. But this young man who said, well, now that we're higher, now we have a better spiritual education, a higher level of spiritual level of education, we understand that pastor wasn't everything he was supposed to be. Or that pastor wasn't what we thought. Looking back now that we've grown up spiritually, that same man spent half of his adult life not being in church. Okay, that same man who said, "Oh, we reached a higher level, a higher plane," forgot about those who invested in him all through his Sunday school classes and all these different his pastor in the past. And I thought, man, how could you miss out on what was already? How could you forget what was already done for you? How could you get past like Gideon's people forgetting who he was the day he died? Their kids grow up in a home. I've done the numbers before. Figured out 2,000 work hours in a week. Kid grows up if he lives in the house for 18 years, and it's 36,000 hours that his dad or his mom has worked. If they work 40-hour work week, they've worked 36,000 hours to put a roof on their head, food in their mouth, or a roof in their mouth and food over their head. I get that wrong half the time. And yeah, I got food on my feet and shoes on the table. Get that song mixed up all the time. But the truth is, a lot of kids, as soon as they get to where they think, I've arrived, they forget everybody's invested in them. Okay? I never want to forget. I can't forget. Something inside of me cannot forget. With Becky sitting here this morning, I sitting over here listening to the singing. I scanned everyone else in the auditorium, but I kept looking back to Becky to see her reaction. Why? Because I think Tammy's spiritual growth is due to this lady that's sitting here this morning. How many think Tammy's a great pastor's wife? I think she's a great pastor's wife. To me, she's a great wife, but I think she's a great pastor's wife. Okay? So someone said something to, stop it. I think Tammy is who she is because of the lady that sat up here this morning. Okay? The greatest influence Tammy has ever had in her life was her friend who sat here on the second row this morning. Okay? I don't ever want to forget. I mentioned Preacher Dave using Brother Howe's sermon, God uses the ravens, about God uses the dirty birds and using ones that everyone else said you can't use. It's not good for anything, like a raven. What good's a raven? What good is a raven, right? A crow. What are they good for? Picking junk off the road? Yes, Brother John, they clean up the dead animals off the side of the road. Okay, that's what they're good for, right? But God uses them. I can't imagine my life without what Preacher Dave, his influence on my life as a teenager. When we were 19, on through, up until 5 years ago, and still today, I can't imagine going back and say, what would my life be like without? Okay. Gideon's people forgot the day he died. I don't ever want to forget. I don't want to forget our teachers that we've had here for the last 26 years. Some of them weren't here. Some of them passed away. Some of them have gone to other churches. A lot of them, looking back at the numbers, probably a lot of them have passed away. I never want to forget about what Sheila did and her influence with the kids. Someone said something about that yesterday looking at the pictures. You had a lot of parties back there in the back. Yeah. No, we didn't have, the church did not have parties. Bev had parties, right? Bev Gooch, they're going to move away, I guess. Bev had parties, okay, that rivaled what Rebecca said, before Pinterest. Before people looked up on the internet how to do stuff. She built an igloo out of milk jugs. Or she'd say, I need everyone to bring in whatever. We're going to build something with it, right? I rejoice in every investment that other people have made. When I think about the influence our church has had on other people, and looking through those pictures, Jared was back here looking at the kids that he went to school with. They came to church when you were all kids in school. He said, that kid here came here. What's his name? What's his name? What's her name? That's girl. Once you mentioned, I said, oh yeah, I know where she lived. I remember who it was. I may not have influenced them at all, but I rejoiced in the influence that the church family had on them. I never want to forget. Gideon's people forgot the day he died. I don't ever want to forget what people did. I can't wait till Tuesday when the election's over. You know why? Because all the people that have been given stuff all their life have turned back and said, you still owe me. And a lot of people, a lot of politicians say, we want to give them more. So that no matter what you give them, they're going to turn back and say, you still owe me. You still owe me. They'll never remember that everything's been given to them, of all that's been given to them. So I hate to hear the politicians every week talk about how good they are to everybody, what they're going to do for everybody, how much they're going to give away. Because it's our dollars they're worth. It's our dollars they give away. I don't want to forget what people have done for me. David Underwood's back in that office. I don't want to forget what he's done for me. Great influence. I don't want to forget what Marie has done for our family. I don't want to forget what anybody in this church has done for others. Great time, great rejoicing. Today was the day of remembrance to me. I don't know how the message went this morning, but in my mind I was kept rejoicing, saying, come on, because Preacher Dave was always like, come on, let's go this way. Let's just go this way. And let's rejoice on the way. We had a good time. Let's pray. Thank you, Lord, for loving us. Help us never forget what you've done for us, especially what you've done for us. You gave your life for us. But then you sent people sent in our direction that can influence us, or give to us, or teach us, or show us. Thank you for what you've done in our lives. Not just my life, everybody here. Everybody in this room, everybody's here this morning. Everybody's walked through these doors for the last 26 years. Thank you for the influences you've given us. Help us never forget what you've done. We love you, Lord. We want to bring honor and glory to you. Help us be the witness for others we ought to be. use us for your glory to win the next generation. In Jesus' name we ask. Amen. Page 62. I love to tell the story. 62. I love to tell the story of unseen things above, of Jesus and his glory, of Jesus and his love. I love to tell the story because I know 'tis true. It satisfies my longings as nothing else can do. I love to tell the story, 'twill be my theme in glory, to tell the old, old story of Jesus and his love. Thank you. Charlie, dismisses. Thanks for coming out tonight.